Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your early and hetero host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. Take that. You had no faith. You thought I could never do it, that it wouldn't happen, that I was doomed forever to be late. But no. Sometimes I try. How's it going, guys? The stream because I started it on time. YouTube tried to kill the stream. By the way, I am pretty have made YouTube's shit list. I'm confident in that. Hold on. I'm telling you guys, ever since I did that memology video about YouTube empowering criminals on its platform to abuse the DMCA through perjury and impersonation, ever since that video, I have been getting fisted 10 ways to Ocasio-Cortez on every possible thing. On every possible thing. I am getting, no lube, fingers splayed fistings, left and right. Left and right. It is ridiculous what has been going on. Just so you know, since releasing that video, I am down a net of about 50 subscribers. So make sure you check your subscription, because people are getting unsubscribed like crazy. It's fun. That's a net 50. That means, I'm gaining and losing more. It's fun. Maybe I'm just terrible. That's a possibility. It sounds like a petty complaint, but again, when a channel reaches a certain size, there's just an expected upward growth trend outside of something interesting happening. But so that's been happening. The distribution's being suppressed on the shorter videos that I'm doing. On the one today, I tweeted about it. They told me it would be suppressed because I said that Fordham loves Chinese massacres. Because Fordham University loves Chinese massacres. They're big fans, especially the famous ones. So that's lovely. Yeah, all of the monetization stuff is taking longer again. Guys, I had it down where I was having videos reviewed by YouTube in like 2 hours. No problem. Now it's taken a whole day. I released the Trump video before the review was done, mainly because I wanted people to have a preview of tonight and also the shorter version of tonight if they wanted it. It is out there for people to see. It is just a very, very high level summary of what's going on. We've got, look at this. We've got the whole document. Oh, thumbnail. We've got the beautiful, terrific, tremendous document right here. Fantastic arguments, better arguments than anyone's been making anywhere else. Really terrific arguments. You can't find better arguments than these beautiful Chinese arguments. That really saved on costs. So we've got that. We've got that coming. We're going to be going through that whole thing. That is Donald Trump suing the New York County attorney. So we'll be doing that. Gail, 9 hours. That's cute. Yeah. But anyway, Yeah, so it's fun times, but I released the Trump video early. I mean, because ultimately, when I have to be clear on this, on 99% of the videos that are the short videos, if I'm complaining about monetization, it's more about the fact that that monetization question mark that happens only on this channel to every video, to every single video upon release, demonetized. On my other channel, immediately monetized every single time. So just so we're clear, I can tell you there's a different standard between the two channels, and there's no, it's not like me. This channel itself is actually flagged, so it's great. Anyway, on my other channel that doesn't have it. On this one, it's instantly demonetized on every single video. But when they do that, it also suppresses search and discovery, and you can tell. I mean, you can see it happen live on the suppression. So, because on the average short video that I do, we're talking about $25 to $40. So I'm not like I'm not really sweating that. Like, I'm not complaining about the $25 to $40. I mean, don't get me wrong, $20 is $20, but I'm not complaining about when I'm talking about the demonetization. It's about the distribution, which is about the growth and retention of the channel. If things aren't getting sent out to people, it's a really frustrating thing to deal with. So, anyway, had an eventful day today. I've had an eventful day today. Live Chat Wednesday had to be shut down early today because, well, unfortunately, we had a tire blowout. Lady Rackets had a tire blowout, and I had to go. She and two of my kids had an appointment, and so the tire blew out on them. I had to go bring our other vehicle to them and then switch and wait for the tow truck guy, and then have that awkward ride, right? Like if you've ridden with the tow truck guy where you're sitting in the passenger seat of some strange guy's truck, and you're just like trying to make conversation for 15 minutes. That's terrible. That's a fate worse than death. I know how to change a tire, but my car didn't come with a spare. Instead, they gave a roadside tire repair kit. The idea being that most flats, I guess, are, punctures, and those can be temporarily sealed, and you could drive the car to get the tire either permanently patched up or get a new tire. That doesn't work when, like, the tire looks like a Salvador Dali painting. So, that's great. It was a feature. It was a feature they told me about after, because I ordered the car. This is back while I was in law school. I have a 2014 Ford Fusion hybrid, and I got it because I was driving, like 500, 600 miles a week to go back and forth to law school. So I guess they don't automatically include a spare because the batteries take up a bunch of the trunk space on the hybrid vehicles. And so maybe, I don't know if that's the reason behind it, but whatever. They give you the tire repair kit. But like I said, when the a rip in the sidewall of the tire opens up and just spills out all of the spaghetti, you can't tire repair that. So I had to go wait to get this thing towed into the tire place, and it cut Live Chat Wednesday short. So it was fun. Don't worry, Zippy Art. I've literally never used it. I've never used it because I've never had to roadside repair a punctured tire. Although I have had 2 blowouts, one on a back wheel and one on a front wheel now. So that's great. Fantastic. And Eagle Loan, my tires get rotated with regularity, because the place I buy them from rotates them for free. Who knows? Anyways, but it's not that big of a deal. It's a fix, or it's fixed. At some point, actually, that car is going to get traded in, and I can't wait to see what is in store. Because I love upgrading a vehicle, right? Because you usually keep a vehicle for a while. Like I've had, I tend to naturally fall on like a 7-year cycle of vehicle upgrades. I don't know why, but and it doesn't matter if you're getting a new vehicle or just a used vehicle that's newer than your old one. But when you think about how much stuff, just quality of life stuff, improves year over year, and you don't have an upgrade for such a long period of time, for a lot of times, a 7-year improvement, like if I upgrade this car next year, is massive improvement in just the general pleasantness of being in the vehicle. The stereos get better, the air conditioning gets monumentally better, the features like the heated seats, the comfort level of everything, it all gets better. It's great. So I'm looking forward to upgrading that vehicle probably at some point next year, but we'll see. We'll see. Not if YouTube keeps taking my $20. I'm kidding. I kid. But anyway, so that was part of my eventful day. Because of that, like I said, live chat Wednesday. The Drifter, yes. Yes, we are. I'll announce it in a second. Because of that, live chat Wednesday, which normally happens for Patreon and Subscribestar subscribers, and also the Super Lawyer channel members who are in the Discord. If you have access to the Discord, you have some level of access to live chat Wednesday. That is normally Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Central to 4 to 5 p.m. Central. Kind of depends on the day and what's going on. And there's a little flex in there in case I have to run some child-related errand. But usually 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time, we have live chat Wednesday. That was cut short today, which means it'll be rescheduled to later in the week. I'm not exactly sure what day that's going to be. I've got to talk to Drexel, because if Drexel's going to come out this weekend, then I want to I want to have it where he can be available, because I know that's been a request for live chat Wednesday, is to have Drexel in there. And I think he was in there a couple weeks ago briefly. So I want to make sure and do that if possible. So I will let you guys know. I will let you guys know what the rescheduling of live chat Wednesday looks like. There are already some super chat memes of of my exit from the live chat today, and let me address that real quick. Samurai Zenji says, Irby, Nick, shut the fuck up, Irby! I'm trying to tell a story! Foreshadowing in Lemoyne's voice soon, rip. So, yeah, that was... I was trying to tell a story, and Irby interrupted me. So he got screamed at. And that's the top-level customer service you get as a patron, a Patreon or Subscribestar or whatever supporter of Rekieta Law, is that you get screamed at. You get absolutely screamed at. And that is a blessing that God gave me with, is the ability to scream at people. And so that is something I pass on to others. So 1 second. My phone charger cable got knocked down or something. Stupid thing. All right. Sorry about that. Holy Lord. Okay. Then we've got Fubar, who says, you lost subscribers because you shaved your glorious mustache. Don't worry. There's another glorious mustache following that one. Again, I always just trim it down whenever it gets to the point where I start chewing on it. That's when it's too long. That's when it's too long. So we've got some things to talk about. There's some more super chats that we'll get to in just a second. But like I said, the big topic tonight is going to be Trump's second amended complaint. This is his re-challenging of the subpoena in the criminal grand jury investigation in the state of New York, specifically in New York County. This was the end run attempt to get Trump's tax returns. If you're cynical, that's what that was. If you believe prosecutors, and let me just tell you, I don't care what political side you're on, never believe a prosecutor, ever. But if you believe prosecutors, this would be a very honest attempt to search for credible criminal activity committed by the president and or his business entities that they are investigating. They can't tell you what criminal activity it is. They really just don't know for sure, but they're pretty sure there might be something, and that's what they're looking for here, is evidence of the criminal activity that they can't articulate. And if this happened to you or me, it would be an injustice. But lots of people support it because they really want Trump's tax returns, and so they don't care that this is an egregious breach of privacy. It's an egregious breach of privacy. So that is fantastic. It's lots of fun. Fishing expedition is one way to describe it, and it is a way that Trump's lawyers have described it. So we are going to go through that. We're also going to talk about the ACLU being stupid, along with Vaush. The ACLU is whinging, whining, depending on if you're like English or whatever. They're whining about officers recording what they're doing. I mean, if you think about it, what have they been begging for the past 5 years? For the past 5 years, they've wanted officers to record what they're doing because we want to review officer actions and make sure that when they say they're shooting an armed black man or whatever, that he was an armed black man, that they didn't just put a gun at his feet or something, right? Or inject the weed into his system. Whatever it is that they're accusing officers of doing, we want government transparency and accountability. So now, what federal agents have been doing in Portland is live streaming. Literally, you can watch the federal officers do whatever they're doing to the protesters in Portland. You can watch it. And now they're pissed off. Why are they mad? Why are they mad? They're mad because suddenly a bunch of little Marxists have their face plastered all over the place, and they're talking about feds using facial recognition technology on the protesters. Whoa, wait a minute. Wait, what? 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 Do these live streams have a chat? Imagine if you could super chat. If you could super chat a Fed. Kneecap him. $20. Kneecap him. $100. Billy club to the neck. Oh my God. Text to speech on the federal officers. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. You commies come. That's what we need. We need text to speech Fed posting live streams. God, that'd be great. Shoot him in the dick, $20. Short round goes Fed. Gosh. Yeah, but no, they're mad about the live streams because, well, frankly, there's a bunch of people running down. There's a bunch of people running around doing potentially illegal activities, and they're mad that their faces are out there. And there's a problem with this. There's a huge problem with this, and because ACLU's arguing privacy, all the commies suddenly want privacy, and that's fine. Like, I'm a huge privacy proponent, really am. But you've got several roadblocks to privacy. You have a giant pile of jurisprudence going all the way back to US v. Katz, which says that things done in public aren't private. These protesters are on public property. They're on public streets. They're on federal property. They're on state parks. What privacy? What expectation of privacy could they possibly have? Like, if you run around in a public park and everyone on earth take cats, K-A-T-Z, not cats, not like meow cats. But if you run around in a park and everybody on earth takes a picture of you, you can't go after them and say they're exposing your private activity. In fact, if you pull out your genitalia and you're flinging that thing around like meat spin, that is not, you're not in private. There's no privacy. You have no expectation of privacy. You're out in the public space. And going from cats all the way up to US v. Jones, which was 2012, I believe, you've got the idea that the feds can follow your car via electronic tracking everywhere you go because it's you're on public roads. And even, I mean, we're talking by GPS tracking, they can follow every single thing that you do, all of it, on a public roadway because, well, if you stopped at a stoplight and someone saw you, that would be in public. So the extrapolation, and this opinion was penned by Scalia, whatever you want to think about Scalia, it's in my opinion, it's not a great one, but he wrote it. He says, look, if I ran into you at a crosswalk, I'd see you in public. Therefore, the police can track every movement you make on a public roadway. And there you go. You have no privacy on a public roadway or a public sidewalk or in a public park or on public property in a government building. You have no expectation of privacy unless you're in a specific area, like in a federal courthouse, for example. There are private meeting rooms where, you know, you meet with counsel and stuff like that between during a recess or whatever. You have an expectation of privacy there because you've taken an extra measure to go into a specifically allocated private space. But when you're just in the courthouse, like let's say a terrorist is on trial, right? Like a big terrorist is on trial. And he's we'll make this very PC friendly. He's the most common terrorist in the world, which is a white, cis, male, evangelical Protestant Christian who just bombed all the abortion clinics, because they'll have you believe that those are the most prominent and common terrorists that there are. So we'll go with that. Now, let's say you went to, maybe it's your pastor, right? Your pastor is grenading abortion clinics because he is Rambo for Jesus or whatever. So you go and you sit in the audience of the federal courtroom proceeding of this criminal trial. And then someone like, I don't know, someone from CARE, right? Takes a picture of you because maybe you're some level of public figure. Takes a picture of you, and then they post it on their website that you were there in attendance at the trial of a terrorist, and maybe you sympathize with the terrorist. Like, they don't definitively say that you do, but they imply that maybe you do. Can you say that you, like, and maybe you're kind of got like a scarf on or something, but they got the picture and it's you. You're in public place. You don't have an expectation of privacy. You can't say that they somehow exposed your private activity. They didn't do that. And it's the same problem that anyone, including the ACLU, is going to run up against with the feds here. Feds are going to say, whoa, You guys have been begging us for police transparency. You've been begging us to record our activities to make sure this is about police accountability. We have been under constant accusation of egregious breaches of civil rights. And no, by the way, no one has produced a damn shred of evidence that they've actually breached anyone's civil rights. That's the crazy thing. We've got video clips and stuff that leave us with a situation where they might have, or they had the opportunity to breach civil rights, but we never have enough context to make that determination. And when they had the chance to bring it to court, they brought nothing. So these guys are constantly being accused of breaching civil rights, including from people like me. By the way, still don't like the Fed activity in Portland. I get it. I think they have the power to do it. Don't like it. That's how I roll. But including by people like me, criticizing them. So then they go, okay, fine, F you. We will record everything that we do. Here you go. Now the public can review our evidence in real time. We can't just delete it. You can't remove the live stream very easily. People are probably restreaming or capturing the live stream constantly just in case they try to remove something later, because you never know what you're going to get. And especially if you're an activist, all of this activity is valuable, even the lawful stuff, because it looks bad. It looks bad when you billy club some lady over a bike rack. Did you guys see when the cops took on the squad of 3, we'll call them carb-infused female monstrosities? It was great. It was great. It's hilarious. And of course, it looks bad if you are of the opinion that the police shouldn't be billy clubbing women. But I'm of the opinion that if the police are going to billy club anyone, they better billy club everyone equally. Maybe I'll find that video. It was so funny. That chick got tossed. That chick got tossed over the bike rack. But the cop got blitzed. Again, I gotta find that. I wonder where that video was. I think I saw it on Twitter, and there's no way I'm gonna find it. Feds tackle woman. Oh, this isn't gonna work. Portland. Let's see if I can find this in the next 30 seconds. That doesn't look like it. That's not it. Nude protester dubbed Naked Athena flashes Portland police and gets pepper balls shot at her feet. She's lucky she didn't get a pepper ball in the vagina. That's all I'm saying. That would have been way worse for her. Oh, is this it? I don't know. Let's get some protester streaming going. Should we do that? We can do that for a minute, right? Have a little palate cleanser with some protester streaming. Graphic language warning. Oh no. Here, I'll make this bigger. Okay. Oh, California and Peacock tweeted it? Okay, I'll pull up those tweets in just a second. Let's see what this one is. This one looked juicy. Let me unmute you guys. Okay, here we go. They need some... Why are you sitting on the front of a bus? Uh-oh! Oh no! Bus posting! Not good!
So what? They're blocking the fucking way!
Oh, this says 2017, yeah. Oh, that's too bad. That's old. I don't care about it. I'm gonna laugh anyway. Let's finish this up real quick. I was hoping this was feds. Notice the difference here. They're clapping for the police today.
Thank you for doing your job, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey! Listen to that! Just 3 years ago. Thank you for doing your job, guys. I appreciate it. Whoa! Let's find the, if Peacock tweeted it, I'll be able to find it pretty quick. You know that guy was killed by police in 2020. Let's see. Oh, Dick, what are you doing? Mr. Is Dick up in Portland now? Let's see. Where are we? Where are we, Peacock? Oh, this is the action movie set. This is good. Oh, this is it. Here it is. Okay. All right. Can I make this bigger? Oh, ho, ho, baby. All right. Here's the original tweet. Police engage with a protester in downtown Los Angeles, prompting other protesters to attack the officers. Oh, so this is in LA. No wonder I couldn't find it. I thought it was in Portland. Watch this jack move! That guy's lucky he didn't get killed. Oh! Watch this lady. Get wrecked! Oh wait, no, it's this one. Sorry. Tossed again. You know, here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Don't go rushing in on cops. I'm not sure exactly like what this guy's in the middle of the street. They're clearly telling to move. Let's take one more look. But once the guy rushes in and tackles that cop, you gotta back off. Everybody needs to back off. They're honestly lucky people aren't dying from this. Honestly lucky people aren't getting shot. This shove is brutal. Boom! Sorry. Every time he shoves her over the bike rack, I'm gonna laugh. You can't touch cops while they're in the lawful commission of their duties. You can't do it. It's a crime. That's the hard thing to remember on this. So whatever this protester is doing, just standing there, cop comes up, is like, you got to get out of the street or whatever. Who knows? I'm not going to say that person did anything particularly wrong other than just being in the way, but who knows? But what I know is that this hit, that's a crime. He knocked his helmet off. Boom. He also like hits another officer, knocks him down. So that's crimes right there. Then this chick running in right here puts her hands on the officer. That's a crime. That's a crime. You can't do that. Notice she grabs his nightstick. She's grabbing a police officer's weapon. Crime. These are felonies in Minnesota. Probably felonies in Los Angeles too. This chick comes in. She's just yelling. He's like, look, leave. She disobeys a lawful order. And she goes in with the intent He can only assume she has the intent of making contact with the other police officer. He prevents her from doing so, and then tosses her over. But those are criminal acts. Like, there's no way around it. Again, it doesn't look good. I don't like cops engaging with people. I don't like violent solutions to any of this stuff. But these are criminal acts. And when these cops are responding in real time to people who have been beating them, throwing rocks at them, spitting on them, trying to firebomb various things or break and destroy stuff, whew, it's gonna go. It's gonna go. You can't do it. There was another thing I wanted to look at. Oh, this guy. This wasn't cops. So, and no matter what your political stripes, you can cheer this guy on. Hold on, I'll pull this up. Brian Moe, you do not have a right to defend yourself against a police officer who's giving you a lawful order. You don't have rights to make contact, physical, aggressive contact with them. That guy shoving that cop off of the first protester, that's a felony. That's a felony. There's no question about it. That's a felony act. And he's lucky he did not get shot. You do not. I need to repeat this as legal advice for people. Your right to defend yourself against a uniformed police officer is severely curtailed. It is severely curtailed. Legal advice: defending yourself against a uniformed police officer is not something that you have a right to do in 99.9% of cases. And the use of force, and particularly deadly force, will get you a murder charge. It will get you a murder charge and possible murder conviction or attempted murder conviction. A police officer who is uniformed, and that is important. If they're plain clothes and you don't know they're a cop, there are different rules applied to how you respond with the use of force against them, but you typically have a justifiable use of force exception, meaning that the justified use of force is accepted, and you don't have it when there's a uniformed officer in the lawful commission of their duties. And saying that those cops are doing anything other than the lawful commission of their duties, you have to make a very big case that their initial engagement with that protester was unlawful on its face, not just uncomfortable. It is you, and Brian, you can go down with your honor all you want. I just want to make sure people know, because there's an old case, a very old case from the 1800s that happened on a Native American reservation, which of course should be given some more credence, but people don't like to remember that, where a guy defended himself against a warrantless arrest with deadly force, and he shot the police officer, and he won. He won his case, and that was determined to be a justifiable use of deadly force to resist what was happening to him. That is such a limited case that it's crazy, and today it's basically impossible. You don't win that case today. The closest you come today is if a plain clothes or a no-knock situation where you are reacting before the officers have announced their identification or presence, and you're reacting. So like a no-knock warrant where they just bust down your door without saying anything and someone opens fire. Maybe you've got a choice. Or again, a non-uniformed officer, maybe you've got a chance there to beat the murder charge or the deadly assault charge. Most of the cases you will lose. You will lose dramatically. I don't misunderstand that the Civil War was a protest. The Civil War was more than a protest. The Civil War was flat out insurrection, and it was absolutely unlawful. The Civil War was an act of war, or the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. These are insurrections against the United States government, and they may be justified, The Revolutionary War was obviously against the crown of England. They may be justified morally and ethically, but they are not legally justified. Absolutely not. And if you think what's going on in Portland rises to the level of the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, we will disagree on that. But here's this guy. Here's this guy. We got to check this out. Uh-oh! Whack! Whack! This guy keeps the cigarette in his mouth. Oh my gosh.
That's enough! That's enough! That's enough! Leave him alone! Stop the violence! Stop! I don't want to hit you! I don't want to hit you! Stop the violence! Stop the violence! Stop the violence! Stop the violence!
Who's this? Who are these guys?
You guys are the ones that are starting the violence!
But see, you know, this guy comes in because, look, they come up from behind someone who's got a sign they don't like and attack. There it is. This guy right here, right up front, goes absolute unit on him. But anyway, it's just, all this stuff is ridiculous, but very, very refreshing. He was charged for assault. I don't know where this is. Christopher Vanderweed is the guy. The one guy had a Canadian thing on his t-shirt, so I don't know what, who knows what this is. I don't know where this is from. I just saw it the other day. It was funny. That's all I got. That's all I got. When is it okay to not okay not to be peace before or after you're a slave? Do you think that you're a slave in Portland? These are questions. I know who's trying to enslave me, and shockingly right now, the slavery I fear is not really from the feds or even the state governments. That's not the biggest threat to my liberty right now. Amazingly, it's other people, it's corporations, and it's anyone who wants to punish wrongthink. And somehow we've taken the ability to punish wrongthink away from the government and put it in the hands of interest groups, and that's in a way worse. Play the last clip again, please. Okay, I'll play it one more time. The song's gonna get copyright claimed. The helmet. Bam! Oh, you don't want to eat helmet. Wham! That guy had no idea it was coming too. What was he doing? No situational awareness on the second guy. The first guy got clocked right in front of him. Oh, you guys can't see it. Damn it. Okay, hold on. I'll redo it. I forgot. Maybe I can make it. Can we make it bigger? There we go. Don't worry, we restarted it. Okay, pay attention to the second hit. The second hit. Here we go. We take this guy down. Wham! Whack! Oh! See, he gets his underhook in. That's why he comes out on top on this guy. Chadley gets that underhook in, and he's able to reverse the actions of the guy in the blue. Rolls him into a half mount. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. And then he's punching a giant beastess of a woman. And then he gets stared down by the Professor Brigade. Like, I don't know what those guys even are. What? Who are they? Like, look at the stare down that this guy's doing. Oh, man. This guy looks lost. I don't even know what he's like, I don't know. Okay. Brian, I agree. There's a bunch of points where peaceful protesting won't work. Peaceful protesting doesn't work. It is demonstrated over and over to not work. That's why I don't do it. It's ridiculous. Do it through the courts. Do it through your votes. That's the system we live in. And by the way, all of the, like, I don't know how we get around the fact that the people peacefully protesting the tyranny of the governments all are on the side of increased government power. That's the weird thing. They're on the side of increased government power, just decreased police enforcement power. They're pro-government on 9 out of 11 issues. That's the weird thing. They're pro-government on almost every issue, but it's just police power. And why is it police power that they don't like? I mean, there's several reasons. Several reasons. But it's because the police power keeps their violence in check. Whiskey knows I haven't even started drinking. Anyway. All right, let's do these other super chats. But we're going to talk about the ACLU article. We're going to talk about Dynamite Comics. And then we're going to get into this Trump thing real quick. The Dynamite Comics is going to be pretty short. It's just kind of an update on what's been going on in that whole thing. So, yeah. All right. Freighter J says, Nick, please no bully Irby. God does that enough as it is. Poor Irby. I feel bad screaming at him. Not much. Not really. Gimme Skittles Now says, even if the social media companies get broken up, the new smaller companies could still censor and ban people. We need publisher versus platform dispute resolved in our favor for our creators to stop living on eggshells. Oh, and I've also got a statement from the White House in regards to that topic. So we'll talk about that in just a second too. Yeah, it's not just creators who have to live on eggshells. It's literally anybody. Social media is becoming the platform where everything is done. From customer service to hiring to everything. To everything. And it's everything. It's the place where you make jokes, and it's the place where you get your job. They're now being merged. And even if you try and segregate them out, like having a private space, like a small group where your words shouldn't matter, kind of like you have a poker game at your house or whatever. Well, now someone has the ability to record what you say at the poker game and not only show it to your boss, but every other employer ever, all at the same time. And if that person has a sufficient platform, they can ruin your entire life based on an out-of-context joke or statement. Simply done. They've reduced not only our ability to communicate publicly, but our ability to communicate in a semi-private fashion. And we're just letting them. We're letting them do it. Geld Walker says, holy shit, you're on time, and I'm here as well, so now it's going to be a great stream. By the way, what did you do to your face? Stop using so much moisturizer. Now fix that 1460s hairstyle and we should be good to go. No, I just took a shower right before the stream, so it's drying in a wave. And it's a pain. Can I become a vigilante to help cops? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Myad says, hey Nick, I have a law question. It is about motion practice in Alaska. Filed for a change to custody on June 6th, June 12th and June 22nd, the other side's attorney. The hearing is tomorrow and I only received a response today. What can I do? You can send a letter to the court to request a continuance. say that you were not served until today. It really depends. I don't know the specific rules of your of civil procedure in the family courts in Alaska, so I couldn't tell you. But if you were just notified the day before a hearing, that's typically not sufficient notice, and you can contact the court right away in the morning, request a continuance. You'll probably have to write a letter requesting the continuance, but I would write the letter, file it, and also call if possible. And then still show up for the court hearing if you don't get an answer, and request a continuance at the hearing based on the same things, and let the court know that you filed everything. It's not legal advice. I don't know the process in Alaska, but if something like that happened to me, I would motion the court for a continuance. I'd give them the reason that I had insufficient notice of the opposing party's response, and that I didn't have sufficient notice of the hearing date, and that I'm just simply not able to be sufficiently prepared. And typically they're going to do something, unless we're talking about an emergency motion for like custody of a child who's in danger or something like that. But that's what I would suggest. Of course, the best practice would be to contact a lawyer in your area. I know how practical that is on that short time frame, but Idea Machine says, so when Lady Raggets got in trouble, I'm assuming you flipped out with profanity and death threats. Yes. Of course. Directed at her. Alex says, these pink masked bandits are the bravest. Only they can break one sign and then get George Lucas and a mad scientist to save them from real violence. Super Saki VA says, recently a coworker of mine was killed by an impaired driver while walking home from work. His family has started a GoFundMe. Jeremiah last wish to help with his family, especially his young children. Damn. That is awful. Hopefully, I mean, there's no way around it. That's awful for that family. And, my best wishes for their recovery. I don't know what that is. It's not really recovery. Okay, let's take a peek at this. I have not read this. I saw it tweeted out. I snagged it for the show tonight, so this is fresh. But this is in regards to Section 230 and online censorship. If I had a time machine, what would I change? Some good stuff. Okay, so statement from the press secretary regarding the implementation of President Trump's executive order on preventing online censorship. So on Monday, the Department of Commerce, as directed by President Trump's executive order on preventing online censorship, filed a petition to clarify the scope of Section 230 and the 1996 Communications Decency Act. The petition requests that the FCC clarify that Section 230 does not permit social media companies that alter or editorialize users' speech to escape civil liability. The petition also requests that the FCC clarify when an online platform curates content in good faith and requests transparency requirements on their moderation practices. That, I'm for the transparency requirement, and a little bit of clarification as to what constitutes good faith, I think would be useful. Similar to requirements imposed on broadband service providers under Title I of the Communications Act. President Trump will continue to fight back against unfair, un-American, and politically biased censorship of America online. Oh, no, Americans online. Sorry, I thought he was talking about AOL. I thought Trump was boomering. It's like, is America online? I only have 10,000 hours. That's not enough. It's barely enough for my tweets. I thought that was happening. No, so this is interesting, right? Dealing with Section 230 of the CDA is a delicate process. We do not want a meat cleaver. We do not want an axe. We don't want anything like that to deal with this. Because there's a huge difference between a Twitter and a Kiwi Farms. There's a huge difference between Twitter and 4chan. There's a huge difference between Facebook and, the Kotaku forum, right? and Reddit. Oh no, Reddit's garbage too. But there are big differences between these different places, and the amount of moderation should really play into it. What is being moderated, and transparently communicating to companies and to users what type of moderation they can expect with regards to what constitutes good faith, and transparency around that is crucial. Patreon right now is dealing with this transparency issue because just a brief digression to the Owen Benjamin Patreon suit that's going on right now is that how do I word this? Patreon said they removed Owen Benjamin for a particular violation of their terms of service. Allegedly, there's no indication that he did what they said he did. And when that was pointed out to them, they said, our terms of service allow us to move anyone for any reason. But that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. And as there's no transparency to the actual moderation practices of Patreon, I think we should be allowed to draw a negative inference about their motivations if their motivations aren't transparent and clearly stated, right? That's how this would go in most things, right? Like if you fail to comply with a discovery request, for example, one of the punishments for failing to comply with discovery requests is that, especially if someone says this thing exists and they won't produce it, well, one of the remedies for that is that the opposing party is allowed to legally draw and direct a jury towards a negative inference from the omitted information. Okay, so you say, well, I deleted that text message. And they go, well, we get to draw a negative inference about why you deleted that text message. We should get to do the same thing with companies when they refuse to, when they just say, well, we reserve the right to remove someone for whatever reason we choose. Well, maybe you can remove them for whatever reason you choose, but that doesn't mean that that's not a violation of their rights. And California has an extremely broad Civil Rights Act. In fact, it's one of the broadest in the country, and I've talked about it before in regards to John De La Rosa's lawsuit and some other ones. California actually has a provision to protect political opinions in their Civil Rights Act. So similar to saying you can't be fired for being black, for example, you actually, and this is why they did it, you can't be fired for being pro-gay rights. That was the entire purpose of adding the political opinion protections to the California Civil Rights Bill, was that in the late 60s, I believe, when they added it, there were pro-gay advocates who were being punished in the workplace, and they wanted to stop that. So they protected their political opinions from being acted upon. Guess where all of these big tech companies' terms of service are rooted? They're rooted in California. They demand to be under California law. They put you under California law, which means that, does Twitter have the right to remove you for any reason? Twitter can't remove someone from their service for being black. They can't do that. So they don't have the right to do it for any reason. In fact, if Twitter removed you for being gay, like they said, you're a homo, get off the platform. If they did that, if you had a direct message from a Twitter employee saying, be gone, homo, you could sue Twitter, and you should be able to prevail on that. Because of course we want that. Twitter's job is not to curate its customer base. It's a place for public to engage. And they set out a list of, no, they can't remove you from, God damn it. They set out a list of terms that says how you can interact with the service. And if you follow that list, you are ostensibly under a contract. I know companies never want their terms of service to be a binding contract when they're being exercised against the companies, and it's really hard to do. However, they always want their terms of service to be a binding contract when they're enforcing an arbitration clause, an indemnification clause, or anything like that, a limitation of liability, an exculpatory clause, any of those things. They will absolutely enforce those against you as if it were a binding contract. But you can use the service so long as you do that. So they cannot remove you for any reason. They may be able to remove you for no reason, similar to an at-will workplace. However, if there is a disparate treatment of a specific set of a specific subcategory, like if only black people were being removed from Twitter, they could absolutely sue Twitter for that. They absolutely could. And they should win under existing law in California and federal law. Now, the question is, does that extend to California's political question? Nobody's suing over this because they think they'll get boned, and also because Section 230, bringing it back to the subject at hand, also because Section 230 right now, as it reads and as companies are attempting to apply it, says that they escape all civil liability, no matter what it's related to, as long as it somehow goes back to their removal of some content from the service. We can't hold companies to that standard. We don't anywhere else in the world but big tech. And it's just big tech. But anyway, so these are good questions. The clarification of 230, and again, shaving it with an X-Acto knife, making sure those protections stay in place for your average website, your forum message board, stuff like that. You should have a relative amount of freedom, and those websites should not have huge regulatory hurdles to go through. However, these massive multi-billion-dollar companies with 50,000 people curating the content on a daily basis, along with AI algorithmic approaches to curating content, I think we can hold them to a little bit of a standard and a transparent standard, and then hold them to rules and hold them for damages. Because, again, careers are literally being made on these platforms. Like, think about this. If Jeremy Hambley got kicked off of YouTube, for example, he would stand to lose something like $500,000 a year in income if YouTube banned him. How can we say that YouTube's actions can be done entirely unilaterally without regard for Jeremy Hambley's rights? We don't do that anywhere else. We don't do that in any other area of law. It's to say that one side has all and total power without regards to a single right of the other party. We don't do that anywhere. And it's crazy to think that people support it. It really is crazy to think that we support that. Especially when all of that power is being put in the hands of billionaires. Like, I like billionaires. Wish I was one. But we're talking about a massive infusion of power and then protecting that sole authority. And that's not something that the law is meant to do. So, yeah. That'd be like saying an auto manufacturer, an auto manufacturer can make a car that randomly explodes. Somewhere between 20 and 80,000 miles, the car will explode. Okay? You know it will happen. And everyone inside will die. And the answer would be, look, just don't buy that car, bro. And they don't tell you. They don't tell you it'll happen. It just will. And he goes, well, you chose to engage with the car. Well, I didn't fucking know it was going to explode and kill my entire family. Oh, sorry. You had a freedom of association with Ford. No. And that's literally how we're treating big tech companies. Like, imagine if 1 in 12,000 trips to Pizza Hut meant that the entire world called you a pedophile. And not because of anything you did, but just like you go to Pizza Hut and then suddenly Chris Hansen has a contract with Pizza Hut that no one knows about. And he tweets out that John Smith from this city is a pedophile, and you get fired from every job that you get completely destroyed. Your reputation gets destroyed and you go to prison. There you go. Well, you shouldn't have gone to Pizza Hut, right? You knew the risks. Did you? Do you know the risks? This is what we're doing for big tech. Why? Why are we sacrificing our rights at the altar of big tech's giant penis? Their penis is big enough. They don't need our help. They don't need our help. Oh, also, even worse. How about this? The Pizza Hut that you went to that destroyed your entire life, it's a private business, but it's funded in large part by government grants. It was built by government contractors on government grants, and all of the utilities that it uses are paid for by the government. You know, that's fine, but it's still a private company. And it still is. Make no mistake, under the law, that is still a private company. A private company that receives 1% of its funding from private sources and 99% of its funding from the public is a private company under U.S. law, which I agree with. However, the second we start giving immunity to liability to those companies, we have to start asking questions about why we're doing that. Anyway, Geld Walker says, here you go, you smart-ass grifter. Grift my stolen money from the Australian government that I got back. Also still waiting on heart test results. By the way, send love to Bug. She has holes in her heart again. And that umbrella guy needs our love and support. Wait, what? What's going on? Is that with Tug's baby? I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it. Joey Joe Star Jr. Shabadoo. Correct. Why should any company get liability immunity for anything? The only time there should be liability immunity for a company is when it's doing something that we have decided we want the law to do. So with regards to the Communications Decency Act and why it was created, was the idea that you could open a web forum, right? Like you, Bob, open a bulletin board service. Remember, this is in 1996. Okay? Literally, BBSs are in existence still, and we're converting to the modern internet that we know today at this time. So in 1996, you go and you open a GeoCities forum where people can come and post their pictures or whatever. And someone comes on, you go away for the weekend. Like you're like, I want to get away from this internet thing. I'm going to go spend the weekend in Montana where they don't have internet yet in 1996. You go away for the weekend and someone goes on your forum and posts a bunch of child porn. And you don't know about it and don't have a chance to moderate it for a couple days until you get back. And when you get back, you're like, oh my God, and you remove the child porn. Should you be liable for what they did? No. As a web host, no, you shouldn't have been. That's not something you can control. In 1996, you're talking multiple days. Now you're talking hours of time before the reporting functions can kick in and things like that can be removed. But even so, like, owning child pornography for a moment can have legal liability. So should they be liable for stuff like that? No. Should they be liable if like you have should Facebook be liable if someone posts someone's address and swats them? No. That's not on Facebook. They would have no way of dealing with that. And they make good faith efforts to remove private information when it's reported as private information. And so we do want to ensure them or remove some liability. That's the whole thing. That's the point of 230. But 230 was intended to stop violence and child pornography. That's what it was created for. However, they added other offensive or objectionable content. They added that as a catch-all, but that catch-all got expanded to mean whatever is objectionable to the platform. And that is where we run into problems, because things that are objectionable to the platform could be a political opinion. It could be anything. It could be all sorts of stuff, but it's not objectionable. The platform isn't reasonable if it's objecting to a political opinion to the point where it needs to be censored. And it doesn't clearly communicate that those political opinions aren't welcome, right? Like, you would have a lot more confidence tweeting on Twitter if they said that this is a list of words you can't say. And again, I don't know why we're stuck on this, because places like Twitch chat, they're like, oh, you better moderate your chat. If someone says the N-word, you could be in trouble. Twitch can prevent the N-word from existing. Twitter can prevent the N-word from existing on its platform. They can stop every permutation of the word with all the cool characters you want to put in there. They can literally erase the word from Twitter. There's no way you can say that Twitter cannot do that. They have all of the power in the world to remove a thing, but what they don't do that. Instead, they allow people to say something and then go back and impose a restriction on what they said after they said it. And there's no list you can go to. No published list by Twitter says, hey, you can't say these things. And if Twitter published that list, we'd have a different story. Then we'd be engaging on an equal level of power, or at least understanding. We don't do that. And this is the problem with 230. This is what they're asking for. Transparency. What gets moderated, what doesn't. And then when they moderate you for something that you didn't do because they don't like your activity, then you have a cause of action, especially when it causes you harm. A public official getting removed from Twitter could be the difference between them getting elected or not. A business getting removed from Twitter could be the difference, depending on the business, could be the business going out of business or not. Twitter has supplanted the public square. So we need to hold them to the standard of the public square. And that's actually very old case law going back to the 30s. That when a private company owns the entirety of a public space, they're held to the same standards of government because they are the government in that case. If we don't like that, we should amend it out of the Constitution. Death Wish, those are great. Those are great. Socialism is for Fig says, stop doing the thing after each drink. It is annoying and makes me cringe like nails on a chalkboard. You do it every time. I'm surprised your wife doesn't beat you for it. What, this? So good. So good. Okay. So anyway, that's the statement on 230. We'll see what comes of that. Imagine a massive political challenge. We've got another. What else do we have? Oh, there's another thing brewing right now. There's a huge fight going on between the president and the court between the executive and the Justice Departments. And it's a fight we haven't had in almost 200 years. And it's kind of amazing. And I've been waiting for Trump to do this. I've been waiting for any president to actually do this. The Supreme Court has ordered the federal government to reinstate DACA. The DACA program is about like people who were brought here illegally by their parents, but they were minors at the time, and then not being able to be deported as easily or something like that. I don't really care about the details of the program, but that's what it roughly has to do with. And Trump said he was going to end it, sent an executive order to end it, and they sued to prevent the executive order from ending the other executive order, which is weird. Which is a weird thing to say, that an executive can't end an executive order of a different executive, but that's what the court did. Said it was arbitrary and capricious, and he needs to consider these things. Which, by the way, you can't just say, when the court says you need to consider these things before you actually end a program, they don't literally mean, well, I considered it and I don't care. That's what normal people would do. Like, look, I'm sorry, but we're not going to do this program anymore. I've considered the impact and I don't care about the impact. The federal government can't just not care about the impact according to the courts, which is stupid, but that's how it is. Trump has just, they said, no, you have to start taking DACA applications again, and you have to issue 2-year extensions to people. And the administration says, nope. They literally just said no. Which is fantastic. It's great. They just said no. Last person to do that was Andrew Jackson. Just said no. What are they going to do? And this is a real problem for the courts, because if the court were honest on this issue, and this is important, the court is not honest on this issue. And full disclosure, I DGAF about DACA. Either way, I don't care if we do DACA. I don't care if we don't do DACA. It doesn't affect me, my life, anyone I know. I have no vested interest in it. I'm not an immigration attorney. I hate doing immigration law. I don't like taking those questions. It's not my wheelhouse. Don't want to deal with it. Nope. Miss me with DACA. Don't care. If the federal government DACAs everybody and lets everybody in, I don't care. I really don't. If they want to do that, elect someone else. Whatever. Doesn't bother me. I am not a hardliner on immigration either way. I'm more fascinated by the topic. By the topic of how the executive and judicial branches are going to resolve this. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, that being said, I don't care if they end DACA or keep it going. But if the court were being honest on this issue, DACA was created outside of the legislative process by an executive order from President Obama. Trump should have plenary authority, which means unquestionable authority, to end the program. There's no legislative mandate for it. It was created by an executive. There is the executive branch is not the person holding office at the time is unimportant to an executive order. I have to make that clear. An executive order of the president is not a Trump order in the sense that the power flows from Trump's mouth or brain into his pen when he signs it. The executive power is inherent to the executive branch, and it is temporarily vested in a president from time to time. What that means is that an executive order of President Obama is an executive order of President Trump until President Trump decides to end it or change it. And if Trump doesn't end or change that executive order, it will be the executive order for the next president as well. If there is an executive order issued by George Washington and never revoked by executive order, it would be the executive order of every subsequent president, because it's the executive order, not the president's order. Does that make sense? The executive power is inherent to the branch, and it is vested temporarily in a president, whom we do not keep as permanent and do not hold as a king. So, an executive should be able to create and dismantle whatever they are allowed to create. They should similarly be able to dismantle by executive order without regard for the Congress, without regard for the judiciary. There's no reason that the court should have any say over the removal of an executive program that is lawfully created. Now, I don't know if there were many challenges to it. Was DACA a lawful creation of the president? I'm not entirely sure it was. That should be an authority held by the legislature under the Constitution. But assuming arguendo that it was, assuming arguendo it's a lawful order and a lawful creation of Obama, it should be lawful to dismantle without regard for anything by any subsequent executive or by Obama if he wanted to dismantle it. Of course it should. It's silly to suggest otherwise. If you have the power to create it, you have the power to remove it. Unless there are very few times where you do not get to remove something you create. And there's actual Supreme Court precedent around this. And it's pretty simple. If Congress creates an office under the executive branch, Congress can't just easily end that office. They would have to change the law that created the office, right? Like, so if Congress created the Department of Education, or let's use the EPA. The EPA is an easy one because I know the law that created it. It's the Clean Air Act. The Clean Air Act creates the Environmental Protective Agency. The Environmental Protective Agency is an executive branch of government, and it's executing a congressional mandate under the Clean Air Act. All right? So, Congress says in the Clean Air Act, we want an agency that will clean the air. It's a little more complicated, but not much. So therefore, Congress creates an executive agency. Congress can't just remove that executive agency. The president signs it into law. Congress would have to make a law that would then remove that agency. They would have to go through the same process of making a law and then having that signed by the presidents, because Congress gave away its authority over the environment. Congress had the authority to regulate interstate commerce, which is what the Clean Air Act is created under. Of course, it's a Commerce Clause, which is way too broad, but they have the authority to regulate interstate commerce in such a way that will prevent pollution on a large scale. That's the idea. All right. They have that, but they abdicated that authority and delegated it to the executive branch. They don't just get to take it away if they don't like what the executive branch did. And they tried under Bush to do this, and the court said, no, you created this authority. You made the mandate, the congressional mandate, sufficiently broad that President Bush is acting within the spirit of the law or the scope of the law in executing the law how he wants. You gave him the authority to do this. You don't get to take it away. The executive branch in DACA doesn't give its authority to another branch. They didn't delegate authority to Congress to take control of the program. They created it under the executive branch. It's managed, it's funded, everything is done through the executive branch. They have the power to take it away. They're not giving something to a different branch and then trying to interfere with that branch's delegated rights. So here we have a situation where the Supreme Court is telling Trump to do something that the Supreme Court really can't tell Trump to do. Now, the Supreme Court thinks it can tell everybody what to do. They act like the weakest form of government until they want to be the most powerful. But they're not. And this has always been the challenge of a strongman president, is a strongman president can simply say no Why? He has a whole lot more guns than the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court has an immortal on it, which might make the guns useless, but Trump has more guns. So if the Supreme Court says do this, Trump says no, how are you going to make them do it? How are you going to make him do it? I have to do it. And that's the ultimate question for the court. Our system of checks on government power by the court exists solely because everyone has played nice. But if the Supreme Court isn't going to stay in their role, what role does the Supreme Court have? This is the weird thing here. Normally, if the Supreme Court is interfering in a matter of the executive, it's because it's interfering with the rights of states, or it's interfering with the rights of the legislative or judicial branches. But this is just executive on executive crime. That's a hard pill to swallow. The court shouldn't have a say in this. And if they had correctly applied their political question doctrine, which has existed for a very long time, they wouldn't have a say. But they wanted a say anyway. But that's not the role of the court. Trump is determined that they don't care. It's interesting to see it play out. I've been waiting to see what happens. Mega says, woke up this morning to a job offer from the company I interviewed with yesterday. So here's 20 to show my support and to celebrate finding work during these tough times. Awesome. Congratulations. Hopefully it's a good offer and treats you well. Treats you well over the years. That's great. That's great. May it bring you all the singles you need for your next trip to the strip club or whatever. Okay. All right. Let's quickly tackle this ACLU stuff. Here we go. Yeah, I don't care. Please disable your ad blocker. No. I mean, ad block should never be on ever. Hashtag YouTube. Hashtag ads. Okay. So this is the ACLU sues. I don't rely on you. ACLU sues Portland police challenging Bureau's live streaming of protests. We were talking about this earlier. So we're going to take a quick peek at this. Dynamite Comics too. Dynamite Comics as well. Sorry. Oh, I should mention, we are watching a movie tonight. We are watching Friday the 13th Part 2 tonight. Immediately following the show. That's what we're watching tonight. So here we go. Oh yeah, so the Portland police. The ACLU of Oregon. So they're not even suing the feds. They're suing the Portland PD. Great. Challenging their use of live stream footage of protests. Nice mask, jackhole. You idiot. Put it up over your nose. You're doing nothing. You're wearing a merkin on your chin. I'm not going to pull up their lawsuit today. I've got to go through it separate from this. But the ACLU of Oregon on Wednesday filed a lawsuit against Portland Police Bureau challenging its live stream of protests. So by the way, if you guys want to watch live streams, you just go to Portland Police. Right there, apparently. That's not a live stream. This is weird. Footage of events, 1:38. Probably not a live stream. If I had to guess, that's not a live stream at all. So, the The ACLU contends the Bureau's practice of filming and broadcasting protesters violates state law that prohibits police from collecting or maintaining information about the political, religious, or social views, associations, or activities of people who are not suspected of criminal activity. Well, we've got a couple questions, right? Not knowing the legal standard that they use, I would suspect it's a reasonable suspicion. Is there a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity going on in these things? Maybe. Are they assigning these? Are they assigning these to a database attached to the people's identities? What's the political position of this guy? Can we tell from this footage, from the freeze frame? Now, maybe he's saying something. What about this guy or this guy or this guy? What's their political position? We can infer and guess. We can say, oh, they believe in Black Lives Matter. But what does that mean? Like, I agree with a lot of things from Black Lives Matter. Well, from the old stuff. I don't know about it anymore. It's kind of gotten crazy now. But I agree with some of their positions. Does that mean like I'm a filthy commie? I don't think so. I kind of think communists need a helicopter ride. The police live stream zooms in on individual faces, making protesters vulnerable to face surveillance technology, the Civil Rights Agency contends. And again, there's a problem. They're on a public street. They're on a public street. I mean, I'm all for it if we want to remove that public exception to privacy, to the Fourth Amendment. I am all for removing it. But under current law, you can't say that they have any expectation of privacy in what they're doing. That's the whole point of a protest. And this, by the way, if I can digress for just a minute. This is why peaceful protest doesn't work. Nobody's willing to give up anything. Like Birmingham protests during the Civil Rights Act, they were willing to get hit. They were willing to get hit. They knew they were going to get hit. They were willing to go to jail. They spent time in jail. Lots of it. That, for better or worse, I guess we could argue for better, that suffering, that sacrifice, that loss is what made the protest matter. If you just go out there and wave a sign and the government does whatever you want, then anyone can go out and wave a sign and the government has to do whatever they want. But on a social level, on a socio-political level, if you aren't willing to give up your comfort for your cause, then what does your protest matter? I hope the protesters realize that every tear gas canister is better for them. That's what they want. Because if they weren't getting tear gassed, nobody would care. But the fact that they're so nonchalantly whiny about all of this stuff makes people not care. What we should see is the injustice. But here's the problem. The attitudes of these people have prevented roughly half of the nation from even considering the possibility of an injustice. Like, so what? Get out of the... Stop blocking the road. Stop interfering with private people. Maybe if you're protesting the government, go protest the government, but stop burning down private businesses. Stop busting windows of private businesses. Stop assaulting random people. Stop taking over private property. Stop breaking shit and stealing shit that belongs to a person. Go protest the government all day, but you're not doing that. So then someone out, who's not there goes, what do I care if this jackass gets hit with a club? And at the end of the day, what do you care? Like if a police cruiser just plowed through a crowd, you'd kind of go, man, they shouldn't do that. You'd probably go back to sipping on your milkshake or whatever, which brings all the boys to the yard. Because the protesters' apathy has led to the apathy of everybody else. Their lack of focus, their lack of a cohesive message, their lack of an identifiable agenda that is relatable in any way to a normal human. I would wager that somewhere north of half the people at the protests don't agree with the goals of the organizations they're protesting on behalf of. I will balls out make that wager. That if you took away the Black Lives Matter logo and the branding and all that, and you just took a protester off the street, you'd have a 1 in 2 chance that you'd start reading down the manifesto list and they'd go, that's crazy. I don't believe that. You're assaulting police officers over it. You're destroying public property. You're cheering as statues get torn down. Over this. This is what you're fighting for. No. I'm fighting against police violence. No. You're fighting for the destruction of the American family. It's in the text, y'all. You're fighting for the destruction and dismantling of the American family. Of the nuclear family. Sorry. Whoa. I forgot the American family is now a single mother. But you're fighting for the destruction of the nuclear. No. Why would I want to do that? I like my family. My mom's in the wall of moms over there with all the other gays moms. I like my family. No, you don't. You can't be. You can't hold these two positions. But this is what's going on. So when someone else looks in, they're like, wait, you support this and this and this? I can't even believe that people support all of these positions. I can't believe it. So why do I care about their cause in the first place? And then second, oh, you're mad about a little pepper spray? I mean, I don't want to get pepper sprayed, but if I'm fighting for something I believe in, then yeah, pepper spray is part of the deal, I guess. But I'm not out there protesting in the streets. I don't think there's a place for it. But the Boston Massacre, right? The Boston Massacre, one of the sparks for the Revolutionary War. Would it have mattered if the police, if everybody marched on the Royal English Infantry Barracks or whatever, and they just said, here you go, burn it down, we'll build another one in 2 weeks. We respect your autonomy. Would it have made the same impact? Would we have had a war? We don't know. We don't know, but they fired on the crowd. I think it was 13 people or something like that, or 28. I don't remember. But they fired on the crowd. Firing on the crowd sparked it. That's what lit it up. Anyway, by the way, John Adams successfully defended the soldiers in the Boston Massacre. Oh, fantastic. It was 5 people. I don't remember. I did a report on it in junior high. That was like 20 years ago. It was way more than... Oh, God. It was like so long ago. Anyway, let's get back to this. The live stream has been one of dozens of live streams of nightly demonstrations in Portland. Police Bureau put a link to its live stream on its Twitter feed 3 times this month. Ooh. Unlawful, quote, unlawful police surveillance threatens our First Amendment rights, said Jan Carson, interim executive director of the ACLU of Oregon. The Portland Police Bureau has no constitutional reason to train its video cameras on demonstrators or to broadcast those images publicly to the internet where federal agents and others can analyze them. What? What? No, they actually do. They actually do. First of all, I mean, I don't want to get too far into this, but this is not a facial challenge to free speech. It's not a facial challenge to First Amendment rights. It would be a chilling effect, so to speak. And if I remember right, we'd be looking at a rational basis test. The government can easily show that its actions in filming and broadcasting this are rationally related to a legitimate government purpose. Easily. Simple. We want to protect the public and have police accountability. That's it. That's our rational government purpose. What is the purpose? The health and well-being of our citizens. Is it rationally related? Yeah. We want to make sure that that our citizens can review the actions of our police officers as they deal with public engaged in their First Amendment rights. We absolutely want that. Of course they have a reason for it. This is silly. City Attorney Tracy Reeves said she couldn't comment on the pending litigation. Federal officers who have been stationed in an incident command center in the Mark O. Hatfield United States Courthouse have been monitoring live stream footage shared on social media of the demonstrations. Portland police and federal officers have made arrests after reviewing video footage to identify people accused of committing violence or property damage. Wait a minute. So they're identifying people who are committing crimes on the videos and then arresting them? They're making arrests based on it? You just found your legitimate government purpose again. ACLU of Oregon filed its lawsuit in Multnomah County Circuit Court, the latest legal action stemming from the nightly demonstrations and officers' use of force. The suit also is on behalf of an unidentified protester who was caught on the police streaming footage while demonstrating outside the police union office in North Portland on July 13, according to the suit. So it's just a person who's unidentified on the camera. I guess they're not accused of a crime. It's just that they're on there. Is that I'm trying to read through the writing that they're saying without looking at the lawsuit. I'm guessing the person was just on footage. They were only able to find one person on the footage who wasn't accused of a crime. Is that what we're to believe? Is that what's going on? One? Okay. Many of the other protesters whose likenesses and voices have appeared on PPB videos also want not to be recorded. That's not true. They're all getting recorded. If you're down at one of the protests, you should expect to be recorded. The news is there, independent journalists are there, and protesters are all recording constantly. Everyone's recording. It's one of the most publicly recorded protests in history. They want not to be recorded. Don't go. This is not the government. I mean, you're getting recorded whether the government's there or not. Several have shouted as much at PPB's camera person. Others have shown bright lights at its camera in an attempt to obscure the camera's view of the crowds. Still others have used squeakers to obscure PPB's audio recording, the suit said. Okay. Yeah, do that. Just obscure yourself. They similarly can't stop you from stopping them from recording you. Oh, these people. Okay. Dynamite Comics. Let me pull this up real quick. Gail Simone is no longer working with Dynamite Comics. Dynamite Comics. This isn't even the story I was going to cover, but let's take a peek at it real quick. It's from a day ago. Now, if you remember, Dynamite Comics was publicly called out for working with the hate group known as Comicsgate. Let's see. Dynamite Comics statement. has been covered. Trying to think, I'm trying to find, let me see which article I looked at earlier. Gamesradar.com. Okay. Games Radar. Here it is. Okay, we'll take a look at these two articles real quick. So if you don't remember, Dynamite Comics associated with Comicsgate in the fact that they were doing merchandise and distribution or something for some Comicsgate creators, leading to, by the way, a bunch of mess in the Comicsgate community itself. There were some issues over that, and it's been part of the ongoing drama. No, I definitely don't want updates from Games Radar. So then Dynamite bent the knee. Hold on. Dynamite bent the knee and renounced its association with Comicsgate or whatever they do, and then. Oh my god, I hate everything about this. Trying to get this window to fit. What the fuck? There we go. They renounced all affiliation with Comicsgate, and then of course this ham beast decided to stop working with them anyway. So good job there. Former Red Sonja writer Gail Simone announced she will no longer work with Dynamite's comic. Nothing better could happen to Dynamite Comics than having Gail Simone leave. Nothing better could happen there. But it was all over variant cover for Vengeance of Vampirella #1 titled Cecil's Big Cover by Donald DeLay. So here it was. You've got Vampirella and Red Sonja, and you know this pissed off Gail Simone. Can you imagine? Her tits are rubbing against his fat body. Can you imagine how angry she was over having Red Sonja drawn rubbing up against Cecil? Jeez. God, it's great. Oh, you know that burned her penis up. Simone had previously responded to Oseyefo, writing, I am not being silent for career reasons. I'm not being silent at all. I'm taking a minute to process something personally very disappointing and sad. They knew this. They knew this. Gail Simone knew Dynamite was working with Comicsgate. Of course she did. Of course she did. It wasn't even a secret. She also hates Comicsgate with a passion. These people hate Comicsgate. They knew. She knew. Only when it became public does she have to make a statement. Only then. They know. If I'm not doing that on your timer, I don't know what to say. Oh, shut up. Now Simone has come out with a much lengthier statement announcing she is no longer working with Dynamite Comics. And that has apparently ended her friendship with the company's founder, Nick Barucci. Hey, Nick Barucci! Nick Barucci, don't bend the knee. Don't do it. You already did, you cuck. Don't bend the knee. Do you know why you don't bend the knee? Because you already lost the people demanding you to bend the knee. You already lose them. Once you're canceled, you're canceled. You're out, bro. You're done. It's an unforgivable sin of association. Barucci is not cool, though. No. Low Res Boy, no. He's not cool. I'm going to show you why. I'll show you why. Here it is. Let's read their statement today. Dynamite renounces Comicsgate associations, we think. Dynamite issued a statement on inclusion and rejecting intolerance, leaving readers to put it in context. Stopping short of an apology, Dynamite Entertainment has issued a statement seemingly in response to being called out by fans and comic book professionals on social media for their association with self-described affiliates of Comicsgate. In an unsigned statement that neither identifies Comicsgate by name nor any of the creators presumably involved, comic book publisher founded by Nick Barrucci, as an offshoot of Dynamic Forces, defines itself as a partner in the fight for equality and inclusion, explains its association with the unnamed figure as, quote, helping a friend of many decades in his family, and announced the association is behind us. Quote from Dynamite, their full statement. Dynamite Entertainment is a partner in the fight for equality and inclusion. Except these people who were excluding. Our company was founded on these core values more than 15 years ago. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You can't. The list of companies that were founded on the core values of equality and inclusion is negative. It's actually negative at this point. That is such bullshit. 15 years ago, you founded a company to sell comics. Of course you founded a company to sell comics. Core values of fight for equality and inclusion. No. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Show me in your founding documents where that phrase even shows up. Founded on these core values more than 15 years ago, and they are essential to the creative process. No, they're not. Again, nonsense. The work of visionary artists and entrepreneurs that we are passionate about. Intolerance has no place in our company or our industry, so we don't tolerate this group of people. Remember how that works. Intolerance of intolerance is intolerance. You can't make those blanket statements. It doesn't work. You are intolerant of Comicsgate. And the worst part is you're intolerant of labels assigned to Comicsgate. Yeah, nobody has to like Comicsgate. Nobody has to do anything about it. But what is being said about it is simply not true. It's people's opinions. They're not facts. They're opinions about what Comicsgate is because they don't like them. They're intolerant. How? How is Comicsgate intolerant? I mean, I know some people who would suggest that it's intolerant. Those people would similarly suggest that the mainstream comics are similarly intolerant. Guys maybe like Doug TenNapel. Now, he said, Comicsgate isn't a hate group, but Doug was pushed out of Comicsgate or left Comicsgate or disassociated from. I know it's complicated. I'm not arguing over it. It's not important. Doug was distanced from Comicsgate in part because of his religious beliefs that he loudly asserts. Whether you think that's right or wrong is irrelevant here. From his perspective, that would be intolerance. Okay? Same thing with what? Mike Miller has some issues with that as well. Again, you can think it's justified. I'm not making a value judgment on it. I don't care. But from their perspective, they're going to say it's similarly intolerant for their perspective to the mainstream comics industry. Of course they will. And other people will feel the same. But that doesn't mean that Comicsgate is actually intolerant of anybody. They just have a different opinion about how messages and beliefs should be conveyed than those people. And that's fine. In a similar way, when they say, hey, we don't want political garbage in our comic books, that's not them being intolerant of LGBT issues or something like that. That's them saying Spider-Man's never really been gay, so when you make him eating dick in every episode, that's a little weird for us, and we don't think that it belongs there. Maybe make a different character that is super gay on its own. Like, do that instead of taking over an old property. Like, do that. That's the difference. Like, don't make Captain America talk about don't make Red Skull Donald Trump, and don't make Captain America a former Nazi agent. Like, maybe don't do that because it doesn't really jive with the character and it's making political statements that we don't think the book is about. Don't take away the American way from Superman, for example. Like, maybe because truth, justice, and the American way has always been a part of Superman's character. Or don't make Superman a citizen of the world. Like, those kinds of changes, not really meshing with the character arcs that exist. And similarly, they're putting your political opinions on these characters that have never held those political positions. How about you just make Superman beat up a bad guy and shoot eye lasers at chicks' clothes until they disintegrate? Like, do that. That's what we want. That's what everybody's... That's the Comicsgate perspective, okay? That doesn't mean it's intolerant of political positions. It just says, hey, maybe don't do that in these major comic books that have nothing to do with that political position. Sorry, back to this. The impulse behind this brief association, it was like a year. It's like a year, though. Was that of helping a friend of many decades and his family, and not how that assistance could potentially affect our valued colleagues, partners, and friends. It didn't. It didn't affect them at all. That's the amazing thing. It didn't affect them at all. There's no effect. Gail Simone is unaffected by Dynamite selling a frog toy. Gail Simone is unaffected by that Star Wars girl doing a variant cover of Vampirella. It's unaffected by it. It has nothing at all to do with it. She was still going to write Red Sonja. It was still not going to sell very much. That all was still going to be true, and it was still going to be full of feminist garbage. And no one was going to change any of that. That association is behind us, and this time has strengthened our resolve to continue working with the most diverse talent in creating the best comics possible, but not diversity of opinion. Why would anyone want that? Why would anyone want diversity of opinion? We want diversity of immutable characteristics like skin color. That's the diversity that matters. Never mind that if you got a black guy who's on the right side of the political spectrum, he's similarly not diverse enough for you. Dynamite came under recent fire for a planned variant cover for a reprint of its October 2019 release, Vengeance of Vampirella #1, featuring Dynamite licensed characters Vampirella and Red Sonja alongside Cecil, a character who shares his name with his creator, a vocal member of Comicsgate. The cover was part of a fundraising campaign created by Dynamite on Indiegogo, a crowdfunding platform popular with Comicsgate associated creators. This is quoting Barucci on July 19th. Remember how they phrase this. In speaking with Cecil, neither one of us realized the cover would be so polarizing. We discussed and are not moving forward with the cover or the campaign. I wonder how that discussion went. I don't know if Cecil's talked about it. I don't follow along. But I wonder how two-sided that discussion was. Barucci tweeted on July 19th, all current orders will be canceled and refunded as soon as possible. We thank everyone for your support. Dynamite has previously organized similar crowdfunding campaigns for other variant cover reprints of Vengeance of Vampirella #1, including a Vampirella Cyberfrog variant drawn by Cyberfrog creator and Comicsgate figurehead Ethan Van Sciver, which was successfully funded back in April. Van Sciver also previously created an Indiegogo-funded variant for Vengeance of Vampirella #1 back at the time of its original release in October 2019. Following backlash over the cover featuring Cecil, Van Sciver spoke out on a live stream detailing what he described as a private business association with Barucci, who is also Dynamite CEO and publisher going back to 2019. Van Sciver alleges Barucci offered him guidance and business advice when starting his self-funded Comicsgate affiliate titles. As a result of the controversy, writer Mark Russell stated he would no longer work with Dynamite following the completion of his current contract to write Red Sonja, while writer Gail Simone stated she had canceled a planned project with the publisher whom she's previously written for. And she's subsequently now said she no longer will write for let's see. She'll no longer do Red Sonja, right? Oh no, she just won't work with them at all. Okay, sorry, I mixed those up in my brain. Dynamite's action Wednesday follows writer Tom King tweeting a tersely worded criticism of Dynamite Comics for hiring an artist King wrongly presumed tacitly supported Comicsgate to draw a variant cover to his upcoming new Rorschach limited series. King later tweeted he had made a mistake, retracted and removed his tweets, and apologized to the artist. First, he lied about everything being okay with Jay Lee. Tom King is a massive beta bitch. Tom King is a bitch. Fuck you, Tom King. Eat shit. I don't even know what you do. I've seen a couple tweets from you, and I know you're a bitch. That's it. Like the entire body of work of yours I'm familiar with comes down to something like 4 tweets. And I can assess that you are a bowl of edamame. Good sir, or ma'am, whichever you may prefer, depending on your estrogen levels at the time. You suck. Like these people are just pussies. Yeah, I'm friends with this person. So what? Oh, you're friends with that guy? I don't like that guy. Oh, well. Oh, well. Oh, you don't like him? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I know him differently than you. Cool. People talk to me about like various people that I do shows with or I like or whatever. And they're like, oh, that person was a dick to me. I'm like, sorry. I don't. He's not to me. Not a dick to me. I'm sorry that he was a dick to you, I guess. I don't know why I'm sorry. I wasn't. But, you know, it sucks that you had that experience. But, you know, I don't know. I don't care. I don't know what else to tell you. It doesn't really affect my relationship with them. So anyway, this is Dynamite Comics. This is why these companies, I wanted to point out a couple things. It's not good enough. Even in this. Look at this. Look at the language. We think. Leaving readers to put it in context. No, the context is pretty clear, right? It's pretty clear. Your apology, Barucci, isn't good enough. They're telling you right now it's not good enough. What are the other headlines here? Let me see. Here we go. Bleedingcool.com 11 hours ago. Dynamite Entertainment posts Comicsgate statement. Is it enough? Question mark. It's not enough. It can't be enough. They will never let you out. They will never let you out. You're dumb. We've been telling you this. I was listening to the Dick Show, the most recent Dick Show from just this weekend, and Dick was talking to Mike Boudet of Sword and Scale, who was a guest on this show earlier on in the pandemic. I really want to have him on again sometime to talk about some crime stuff because he's really interesting. But I'm listening to the Dick Show, and Dick was talking about. Mike was trying to articulate that he's getting to know these different people because Dick had Mersh on from Revenge of the Sis. If you're familiar with Revenge of the Sis, Dick had Mersh on before Mike Boudet, and so they were talking, and so then he was talking to Mike, and Mike has been Mike watches the Kill Stream from time to time. He watches Medicare, and stuff like that. So Dick was talking to him about it, and Mike was he's like, Mike says, I'm just starting to get a handle on this, I don't know what to call this community. And Dick says, the scumbag community. Right? Because it's the scumbag community. we're all scum. We're all terrible assholes. We're terrible people. All of that stuff. People like Dick, Ethan, Ralph, Revenge of the Cis guys, Medicare, probably me. Ethan Van Sciver's probably a scumbag. You know, this group of people that is reviled, unfairly reviled, might I add, for various reasons. It's the scumbag community. And Mike didn't have to deal with this until last year, when Mike was kind of canceled from his own show, which is what prompted me to reach out and have him on the show in the first place. He was canceled from his own show over just this woke accusation against him. And he's like, whoa, you know, and he had to step down and do all this stuff. And he was really scared because of the risk that was involved in his livelihood being taken from him over someone not liking the way he said something. And that's really what we're getting down to. It's not even what is being said. It's like, because what is said is what you intend to say and combined with how you communicate it. But it's not that someone doesn't like what you're saying, because they might actually even agree with what you're saying. But if they misinterpret it, then it's them not agreeing with how you say a particular thing. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. But Dynamite, we, the scumbag community, the humble scumbag community, have been trying to tell all of you that there is not enough of an apology. There isn't enough bending the knee. You'll bend the knee, you'll bend it, you will sit there and you will suck on the strap-on of these people until you can gag no more, and then they will leave you and say it wasn't good enough. They will take and take and they'll take. And then it won't have been good enough anyway. The moment they see that you are out of resources and the virtue signal of leaving you outweighs whatever minimal costs they have, you're done. Look at Gail Simone. If you can bear it. God, I'm sorry. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But look at that example. She didn't have a project with you. She had something maybe coming or whatever. And the virtue signal of announcing your demise to her was worth more to it than all of your apologies, all of your history, all of your association, all the good work you've done together, all of your support of her work, all the money you've ever paid on behalf of her work, all of the publicity and exposure she got out of doing that work. All of that is worth less to her than the virtue signal of leaving you after you apologized to her. And if businesses don't start letting that sink in, especially the smaller ones, you're fucked. To quote the Irishman, to quote Stephen from Braveheart, you're fucked. We'll all be here, but by the way, you're going to burn your bridges with us, and they've already burnt their bridges with you. Once they cancel you, you're done. There is no groveling your way back. But if you burn your bridges with the people who still support you, and by the way, I bet those variant covers made more money for Dynamite Comics than Red Sonja does on her own. I don't know. I don't know what the sales of Red Sonja are. Maybe they're huge. I'm pretty sure they're not, but maybe they're huge. But I'm guessing each one of those variant covers probably made more money than like the entire run. So it's just sad. But anyway, that's that. Oh my God, I haven't even gotten into this Trump tax return. Holy Shitballs. Maybe we have to put this off to another time. This is going to take a while. This is 16 pages of pretty thick legal text. I can skim some of it. That doesn't matter. I'm out of grape soda embalmed. I'm out of it. Yeah, I'd change the video title if I do. Let's see. 16 pages can take a really long time on this channel. We'll skim through a couple of the main points. We'll do the intro. We'll skip the parties. We'll skip jurisdiction. We'll maybe look at the background because there's some interesting stuff there. And then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. Okay, so here's the intro. This is Donald Trump versus Cyrus Vance. This is Vance is the county attorney in New York County, which is the New York City limits. And he has issued a subpoena in a grand jury action, which means that there is not a criminal charge. They're not investigating a specific crime that has been charged. They are merely stating that there is some sort of criminal activity that they are trying to investigate, and they believe that they need how do I word this? They need this evidence to support that investigation for criminal activity. Now, typically a grand jury subpoena is going to involve some idea of the criminal acts involved. And so far in this case, they've been pretty vague. And that's one of the problems with it. But so the subpoena was issued in that grand jury action. Now, there is not a court case that exists, right? There's a subpoena, and that is a court action, but there's not a criminal case to follow. So Trump has initiated a lawsuit against Vance. And that lawsuit is based on a 1983 claim, and that is where a government actor under the color of law violates the rights of a citizen. In this case, the citizen happens to be the president of the United States. So, that's the background that you need. This is Trump bringing that 1983 action against the government actor, and technically against his accounting firm, although they're just there as custodians and are neutral on the issue. So, introduction. In 2018, a New York County grand jury began investigating whether certain business transactions from 2016 violated New York law. The Trump organization initially cooperated with the investigation, including by producing hundreds of documents in response to the grand jury subpoena. A disagreement arose, however, when the district attorney requested tax returns, even though the subpoena did not cover them. Instead of trying to resolve the dispute, the district attorney issued a grand jury subpoena to the president's accounting firm that duplicated two congressional subpoenas that had been issued for purportedly legislative purposes. So if you've seen my other video on this, the short video, Trump won against congressional subpoenas, but he lost on this criminal subpoena because the grounds he asserted on the criminal subpoena were merely that he, as president, was immune to a criminal subpoena. And he was immune to it as executive privilege. And the Supreme Court said, no, you're not immune to it. However, you may raise other objections to the subpoena. You may raise other issues with it. And so they remanded it back to the lower court. And that's why this is the second amended petition. They're now raising those other issues, the other objections to the subpoena. They were able to use the executive privilege, not quite correct wording on that, but basically executive deference, we'll say, to defeat the legislative subpoena, and also deficiencies in how the legislative subpoena was drafted for legislative purposes. But as for the narrow issue, and this is important about Supreme Court rulings as far as the criminal subpoena goes, on the narrow issue of, is the president blanket immune to a criminal subpoena, or is there a heightened standard of scrutiny applied based on the executive authority? Based on those two very narrow issues, the Supreme Court said no. So now he's raising these new issues to challenge this thing. And one of the problems is that they just literally copied. They just copied the subpoena from the legislature and then put it in the criminal process. But those two issues are vastly different. The legislature cannot subpoena Trump's tax returns to try and find him guilty of a crime. They can subpoena Trump's tax returns for a legislative purpose, maybe, if they actually articulate what possible legislative purpose would necessitate his specific tax returns. They could maybe do that. However, they can't do it for a criminal investigation. It's not in their branch of government. So then by just copying that, you've taken the legislative purpose, which is entirely different, and tried to make it the investigative purpose. And that's not what this is for. So the president filed suit under 1983 to protect his legal rights, including those held under Article 2 of the Constitution. Although the subpoena was directed to the president's accounting firm, it is functionally a subpoena to the president. That's from the Supreme Court. Thus, the president has standing to challenge the Mazars subpoena. What? Oh, sorry, I couldn't find this word. Challenge the Mazars subpoena as overly broad or having been issued in bad faith. So these are two of the things that the Supreme Court has actually suggested he could challenge it on. Appeals Court and then the Supreme Court. Oh, excuse me. In challenging such harassment, the president is entitled to the protection of federal courts. First, the Mazars subpoena is wildly overbroad and is not remotely confined to the grand jury investigation. Moreover, the subpoena demands voluminous documents that relate to topics and entities far beyond the district attorney's limited jurisdiction under New York law. This is not a properly tailored subpoena for the president's records. Second, the Mazars subpoena was issued in bad faith. The district attorney knew when he issued it and has since admitted that the subpoena was not designed to meet the needs of the grand jury. It was drafted by a congressional committee purportedly to investigate issues of national concern. In other words, the district attorney issued a grand jury subpoena he knew was overbroad and sought irrelevant records. That the district attorney dubiously claims he did this for efficiency reasons does not save the subpoena from invalidation. It confirms that he lacked a good faith basis and that the subpoena amounts to harassment of the president. So, getting lag? Well, I am talking about Trump, so, YouTube might hate it. We're not going to go through all of the parties here or the jurisdiction and venue aspects of it. I'm just going to go ahead and assume he brought this in the Southern District of New York, which is where that's the courthouse in Manhattan. There is no federal court that has more proper jurisdiction or venue over this case that I can think of. So I'm just going to assume it's proper. Grand jury investigation. So here's the background. In the summer of 2018, New York County District Attorney's Office opened an investigation into what it opaquely describes as, quote, business transactions involving multiple individuals whose conduct may have violated state law. According to published reports, the focus of the district attorney's investigation is payments made by Michael Cohen in 2016 to certain individuals. Citing anonymous sources, the New York Times reported that Mr. Vance's office is exploring whether the reimbursements violated any New York state laws. In particular, the state prosecutors are examining whether the company falsely accounted for the reimbursements as a legal expense. In New York, filing a false business record can be a crime. So that is the vague assertion they're going with, is that, well, we don't know if they counted this as a legal expense. These payoffs that may or may not have happened. On August 1st, 2019, the district attorney issued a grand jury subpoena to the Trump Organization. Subpoena sought the following documents and communications. This is the first subpoena. The first subpoena, not the second subpoena. For the period of June 1st, 2015 through September 20th, 2018, any and all documents and communications that relate to, reference, concern, or reflect payments made for the benefit of or agreements concerning Karen McDougal, payments made for the benefit of or agreements concerning Stephanie Clifford, aka Stormy Daniels, aka Peggy Peterson. Payments made to or agreements with Michael Cohen or American Media Inc. that concern Karen McDougal or Stephanie Clifford, aka Stormy Daniels, aka Peggy Peterson, including but not limited to documents and communications involving this list of people: Resolution Consultants, Essential Consultants, entities owned or controlled by Michael Cohen, David Dennison, Keith M. Davidson and Associates, American Media Inc., National Enquirer, David Pecker, Dylan Howard, Hope Hicks, Jill Martin, Jeffrey McConney, Deborah Tarasoff, Donald Trump Jr., and Alan Weisselberg. Now, if you notice, this subpoena is sufficiently crafted to account for the time frame, the planning before the alleged payments were made, and it's limited in scope to documents or communications related to these payments. Now, maybe they don't have any documents or communications related to those payments. Maybe they do. Don't know. They're asking for anything that they do have. It's like Go Fish. The items sought by this demand include, without limitation, emails, memoranda, and other communications, invoices, agreements, including without limitation, retainer agreements, accounting and other book entries or backup documents, general ledger records, wire transfer requests and related records, check images, bank statements, and any other evidence of payments or installments in organizational documents and agreements, including without limitation, articles of incorporations, limited liability agreements, and minutes of director or member meetings. That's a lot of shit for these companies and people. But that being said, you know, some of that would be privileged. Michael Cohen was his attorney, and depending on whether or not privilege was waived, some of that stuff may be privileged anyway, but it doesn't matter. That's what's going on. For the period of June 1st, 2015 through September 20th, any and all documents or communications that relate to, reference, concern, or reflect Michael Cohen's employment by or work on behalf of Donald Trump or the Trump Organization at any time, including without limitation, invoices, payment records, human resource records, W-2s, 1099s, emails, memoranda, or other communications. The subpoena did not call for tax returns. President's attorneys immediately opened a dialogue with the DA's office, collecting and ultimately producing hundreds of documents encompassed by this grand jury subpoena. But the DA soon revealed what he really wanted was the Trump Organization's tax returns. When the president's attorneys pointed out the subpoena could not plausibly be read to demand returns, the DA declined to defend his implausible reading. He instead retaliated by issuing a new subpoena to Mazars, a neutral third-party custodian, in an effort to circumvent the president. So here's what the Mazars subpoena requested. And this is going to be boring. This is going to be boring. But that's the way this goes, right? On August 29th, 2019, the DA issued a grand jury subpoena to Mazars, and here's what it requests: to produce a list of the records concerning the president. Now, important to hear. Notice the difference between, hey, Mr. Hop, you be quiet. Just kidding, buddy. Notice the difference in time frame. This is one of the key issues here. The difference in time frame. For the period of January 1st, 2011 to the president, with respect to all of Trump and all of his companies, and any related parents, subsidiaries, affiliates, joint ventures, predecessors, or successors. So literally everything Trump owns, all of the corporations. And guys, billionaires own a lot of different companies. So we're talking massive amounts of stuff just on its face for the past 9 years. January 1, 2011 to present. Tax returns and related schedules in draft, as filed, and amended form. So the proposed drafts, the filed forms, and any amendments that took place for all of these organizations and people. Any and all statements of financial condition, annual statements, periodic financial reports, independent auditors' reports, prepared, compiled, reviewed, or audited by Mazars or its predecessor, Weiser Mazars. So you're talking, again, many of these things are going to have at minimum quarterly reports, if not monthly reports, on their financial conditions and status. Regardless of time period, any and all engagement agreements or contracts related to the preparation, compilation, review, or auditing of the documents described in items A and B. So also their just their agreement to prepare the documents. Those are now, for some reason, how someone answer the question of how a retention letter for an accounting firm in 2012, where Donald Trump says, I want you to do my taxes in 2012, how that in any way relates to payments made in 2016 to Stormy Daniels or whatever else the other person's name was. And actually, it's regardless of time period. So, you know, if those statements were before January 1st, 2011, if they had some pre-existing like 10-year agreement or something like that, that would be all underlying, supporting, or source documents and records used in the preparation, compilation, review, or auditing of documents described in A and B, and any summaries of such documents and records. So all of Mazur's internal communications, they probably had a team of people working on this. All of their communications, all of their documents, all of related to the preparation or auditing of these things. All work papers, memoranda, notes, and communications related to the preparation, compilation, review, or auditing of the documents described in A and B, including, but not limited to, all communications between Donald Bender and any employee or representative of the Trump entities, all communications, whether internal or external, related to concerns about the completeness, accuracy, or authenticity of any records, documents, valuations, explanations, or other information provided by any employee or representative of the Trump entities. What does this at all have to do with the alleged potential criminal activity of payments made to two prostitutes? This is why they're challenging it, right? Like, this stuff has nothing to do with that. The district attorney's subpoena to Mazars is identical to the House Oversight Committee subpoena to Mazars, except for a few stylistic edits. The only exception is paragraph 1A. The House Oversight Committee did not ask for Mazars for the president's tax returns, but the DA did, following the Ways and Means Committee. So the House Oversight Committee didn't do tax returns. Ways and Means Committee did do tax returns. Essentially, then, the district attorney cut and pasted the House Oversight and Ways and Means subpoenas into a document and sent them to Mazars. Here's the comparison, and we won't go through all of it. They're very, very similar. They have a little like stylistic affectations like this, added in collectively the Trump entities and stuff like that. Here's the tax return. This is the only difference from the House Oversight Committee. These are very similar. The numbering scheme is different. They went with a lettering scheme. They went with a numbering scheme. Then when they switched to letters here, they switched to Roman numerals, lowercase Roman numerals. But it's essentially the same stuff. As with the first subpoena, the attorneys for the president, the true party in interest, contacted the DA's office to engage in good faith negotiations concerning the subpoena in effort to cooperate with the investigation. Yet the DA refused to engage in any meaningful discussion about the investigation, justify the subpoena scope and breadth, or narrow the subpoena in any way. So then I'm not gonna do the rest of this. I don't know how to effectively do this in under like an hour of just boring reading. This is all background, but it's all the narrative background of what's going on. And again, I'll direct you to my short video on it, because it really gets thick in here. But let's get a couple points here. It is inconceivable to think that a subpoena designed for the purpose of achieving the committee's explicitly national and international goals and structured around a particular action by the federal government that took place in Washington, D.C., is properly tailored to the New York grand jury's state law investigation, slapping on a demand for tax returns for the same time period from the same, in some cases, extra-jurisdictional entities serves only to further undermine the tailoring of the Mazars subpoena. This is the type of stuff that they're going with here. They talk a lot about the jurisdictional limitations of a New York City attorney or a New York County attorney, because they're jurisdictionally limited to the area, the geographical area of their jurisdiction, which is New York City, which is also New York County. And so anything that occurs outside of that has to have its impact felt inside of that geographical area to potentially be a crime. And it can't just be like a ripple effect. The main thrust of the criminal act has to be felt there. So Trump is arguing like this all is happening outside of New York. What authority does he even have? And then the further jurisdictional limitation is the statute of limitation. The statute of limitations being 5 years for most crimes, 5 years or less for most crimes in New York. They're asking for documentation that goes back over, over 9 years. 9 years and some months. So when we're talking about going back over 9 years, we're talking about including documentation that would definitely be outside of the statute of limitations. So the New York City attorney cannot have a jurisdictional interest in something that he can't prosecute. He hasn't alleged that Trump murdered someone and that would be somehow have evidence inside the financial records or anything like that. He's on a fishing expedition, fishing for anything. And really what they're fishing for is the tax returns that Trump has never, ever disclosed. In here, yeah, so this is just about the committee's claims about its purposes, and then of course tying that back in to the fact that he admitted to using their subpoena. Since he used their subpoena, you get to impute their purposes upon it, or that's the argument they're making. That they're saying, well, if this was their purposes and he's using the exact same document as he's admitted, then we should similarly assess that this would be reasonably his purposes. And he hasn't done anything to change the purpose of the document. So the litigation has gone. This is just the litigation history going back through the Supreme Court action. Where does this ultimately leave the president? Here's what they're asking for: a declaratory judgment that the subpoena is invalid and unenforceable. A permanent injunction quashing or modifying the subpoena as necessary to protect the president's legal rights. A permanent injunction prohibiting the district attorney from taking any action to enforce the subpoena, from imposing sanctions for noncompliance with the subpoena, and from inspecting, using, maintaining, or disclosing any information obtained as a result of the subpoena. A permanent injunction prohibiting Mazars from disclosing, revealing, delivering, or producing the requested information or otherwise complying with the subpoena. The president's reasonable costs and expenses, including attorney's fees, and all other preliminary and permanent relief to which the president is entitled. I'll tell you that the costs and attorney's fees on this have got to be $500,000. This is a precedent. It's a novel argument. It went all the way to the Supreme Court and is now back and still ongoing. They're going to be massive costs if he wins them. So good job. Good job, City of New York. If the president wins, your taxes will be paying for this witch hunt. But legally and practically, where does this leave the president? It's going to be up to the lower courts, and probably whatever decision that is going to get appealed up. Maybe even back to the Supreme Court. Or the county attorney can realize that this is a waste, and we'll see his political motivations pretty clearly if he just pulls the subpoena. Because the reality of this is there is no way on earth Trump produces these documents prior to November. So prior to the election, these documents do not show up. And the goal, I will posit, the goal in this was to get the tax returns and leak them prior to the election. Because of course it was. Of course it was. You don't have to like Trump. You can be mad that he hasn't released his tax returns. You can absolutely do that. This and the Congressional Committee's subpoenas were solely the Ways and Means Committee subpoenas specifically. They were intended to produce Trump's tax returns, to force them to be produced when he refused to do so. Why? They want to use it as political points against him in the election. He's known it. They've been after them since the last election. So now they've been wanting them. They saw the opportunity to do it, and they went for it. It failed. It wasn't working out for the Ways and Means Committee or the Oversight Committee. So the DA said, I've got a criminal action. I'll bring the criminal action because there's actually case law that supports that this goes back to Nixon, that the president can be criminally subpoenaed. And that was the argument that was brought before the Supreme Court and ultimately had a large part to play in the Supreme Court deciding the way they did on the criminal issue. That no, presidents are not exempt from a criminal subpoena. And in fact, they've been ordered to comply with them before, even when it involves sensitive materials. That was the idea. I can do this way. And then we, of course, know what would happen to those tax returns. They would be leaked within minutes. Within minutes, the press would have copy of those. Of course they would. That's the goal. That's what they wanted. That's what they want. But now there's no way under the court process that Trump would even be able to be compelled to comply with this prior to the November election. It's just not going to be that fast. He will take it all the way up to the Supreme Court again if he needs to. And the petition for cert to the Supreme Court will take longer than the election to get an answer on. Hell, the lower court's decisions may take longer than that to get an answer on. So we'll see. If the city attorney says, well, it's not going to be worth it because I can't get it before the election, he may just drop it. May issue a more narrowly tailored subpoena. That would be possible, but it's going to be met with the same resistance. They've effectively played out the clock long enough to avoid the subpoena. And frankly, if you or I were running for office, we would do the same thing. And we should. You should do that. Remember that this is, whatever your opinion of Trump, remember that this is a prosecutor using the power of the state to bring a nebulous idea of a criminal action and then to force a civilian or citizen to do something that they don't want to do with the power of the state. President Trump has loudly proclaimed he's not turning over his tax returns. That's been obvious from the start. He doesn't want to do it. And you can't make him do it. If you don't like it, don't vote for him. That's the answer. It's a political question. But these people have attempted to use the power of the state to force a citizen to do what they don't want to do. And if this were happening to Portlandian Antifa people, the ACLU and other organizations would be up in arms about it. Of course they would. Imagine, if you will, the city attorney of Portland using those lovely police videos, right? Starts issuing subpoenas for all cell phone records of every single individual in Portland over the past 2 months in downtown. They go, okay, we know all of these people were arrested. We think they might have committed a criminal act and there may be evidence of it on their cell phone. We're submitting a subpoena to every single one of them for all of the evidence that they have, all of their phone records, every associate they called, every text message they sent, every Facebook post, every tweet, all of it. If they did that, everyone would be up in arms. And they should. And they should be up in arms about that. That would be an egregious abuse of state's authority. Because they'd be forcing someone to turn over something that is not public. That's different than putting someone's face on a YouTube stream with 500 views. That's way different than that. That is compelling someone to produce something that may implicate them in a crime or may not. It may just be burdensome. It may be embarrassing. Maybe you've got a bunch of sexy anime girls on your phone, or maybe you've got a bunch of sexy anime boys on your phone, or maybe you've got some really awkward text messages with your ex, Or maybe you've got some really embarrassing financial details, like your name's T. Greg Doucette and you mismanaged your firm's funds and you were unable to pay your employees and you had to file for bankruptcy coming up or something like that. What if any of that stuff happened? That should not be in the calculus. And so again, you have to disregard the party here as being President Trump, because the court has said that the president gets no special deference. And I need to reiterate that. I think these assertions about the subpoena are not based on the fact that it's the president of the United States. He lost on that issue. These are the same defenses that you would raise to defend yourself against a subpoena that was improperly issued for the purpose of harassing you. And there are all sorts of reasons the state may do that. You may have made a, what if you made a critical comment about a local judge? Because the local judge busted your Antifa buddy and denied him bail for 20 days and then held him in contempt of court for 2 months. So you say that judge is a right-wing monster, probably a racist and a terrible human being. And then that judge, then just the next day after your racist or your accusation of the judge, the next day you get a subpoena issued by the county attorney. By the way, county attorneys work in the same room, same hallways as these judges, and they see them every day for work over and over. They're colleagues. You get that the next day, you get a subpoena for all of your cell phone records over the past 2 months, and you have to prove that you weren't in downtown Portland wearing a mask. You would raise these exact same things. In fact, though, they don't just ask for your cell phone records over the past 2 months. They ask for your cell phone records over the past 5 years. All of it. All communications. Over the past 5 years. These are the exact same defenses you would use. You'd say that's brought in bad faith because of the circumstances surrounding the timing of it. You would also suggest that it's overbroad. It's too much. What crime are you investigating? What's going on? So, anyway, well, that being said, that's I think we're gonna wrap up the show. Let's do the chats. We'll call it a night in just a minute. We are going to watch Friday the 13th Part 2 on Twitch. And yeah, let's go have a good time. Let's go have a good time on Twitch. And forget all the nonsense going on in the world for a little bit. And just watch a big, burly demon monster, Jason Voorhees, chopping up a bunch of lewd co-eds or whatever. And then hopefully we will have time for a second movie. Hopefully we'll have time for a second movie after that. So we need another gem like Train to Busan. We'll do a movie we'll do like Man from Nowhere or something maybe in a couple days. But for tonight I want to do Halloween too, or not Halloween. Nightmare on Elm. Friday the 13th. My Tourette's has come back. Friday the 13th, Part 2. We're going to do that one because Friday the 13th, Part 1 is such a different and slow-paced thing. Part 2 it's much more in line with what we think of Friday the 13th being. So that's why I think we should do it. And then we'll do something else next. After that, something schlocky after that, which will be fun. And then tomorrow we'll do something different. Hell, maybe we'll do Man from Nowhere tomorrow. I don't know. There's all sorts of great movies out there. Planning on being done the catalog before October, eh? Oh, on Friday the 13th? We'll see. All I know is August 1st, which is like in 2 days. Ooh. We have another day left in July, right? The 31st? Yeah. So it looks like Friday night will transition to August 1st, and we may be able to watch Top Gun. Top Gun. I can't wait for Top Gun. I love that movie. Okay. let's do the chats and then let's wrap up. Carme says, speaking of homeschooling from the previous stream, have you heard of OpenStax, cnx.org, for open source peer-reviewed free textbooks? No, I have not. That's interesting. These Hands has a couple chats here. He says, website, please disable your ad blocker. Me, okay. Website, find hot singles in your area. Play this game to win a free iPad. Chefs hate him. Find out how this line cook makes the best pizza outside of Italy. These Hands says, ad blockers are a moral good, and no one will ever convince me otherwise. I, for one, despise ad blocking, would never use it. Where Tiger Ray says, that protester that tackled the cop is going to be doing some Ralph time. Crusaders Thereson says, Dynamite Comics, as well as any other creatives working today, would do well to learn that, unlike Christ, the religion of social justice offers no redemption or forgiveness. And it doesn't. It doesn't. Crusader Saracen says, in fairness to Gail Simone, I also hate Comicsgate, mostly because they seem to be insufferable figs who can't get over their petty BS E-drama figotry to unite their goals of selling good comics to people. That's been a similar criticism I have, to some of their activities. But, it's not me selling it. So maybe they believe that their activities are gaining value or adding value to their products, and I'm not in a position to make that determination. Macca Jr. says, Offspring is my favorite band, so I think it's cool you said you listen to them. Have you tried the lead singer's hot sauce, Gringo Bandito? No, I hope it's good. You're Gonna Go Far, Kid is one of my favorite songs. Kiwi Goes Live says, R.E. the Hearse. Should I get a mural of a Grim Reaper on the hood, a mural of a wizard fighting a dragon on the other side, or both? Both. Macca Jr. says, my wife and her friends were talking about changing diapers, and one started telling me the difficulties of changing a boy's instead of a girl's because it doesn't say anything else, but it's because boys fountain, girls flood. They both have their challenges. But yeah, boys fountain, girls flood, and it's annoying both ways. 2012 Jameson says, can we get some F's rolling for Tug's baby prayer? I'll have to look into this. I had no idea what's going on with that. Bad Burrito says, shut up, Herbie, I'm telling a story. Death Wish says, have some dollary dues for being early and hetero. Thank you. Macca Jr. says, of having to clean their bits as well. Telling the proper way to do it. I said, did you just femsplain cleaning bits to me, a man? We don't talk now. Oh, that's funny. That's great. That's fantastic. Shadows King 101 says, you look like you have a receding chin line. Oh, man. Rip me. Roy Margari, welcome to super lawyer status. Roy, thank you. I'll say it again. There should be a super lawyer only post on the community page, which will get you access to the Discord. It has instructions on how to do that. If you cannot find it, please find a way to message me or email me, and I will help you get in. Mario Carter 13 says, IRS integrity equals still haven't leaked Trump's taxes. That's the one good thing that the IRS has done, I guess. That would have been... Can you imagine? I wish they would. I wish they would have. He would have probably dismantled the IRS by now. Damn it. In a fit of rage, Trump would have done what we've been trying to do for decades. Just dismantle the IRS. All right. Mr. Leon says, you need to redo Train to Busan with Drexel and Lady Rackets. I don't know. I don't know that Drexel cares so much about... Drexel's movie tastes are very particular. And they're not wrong, but they often are. So I have to point that out. Many of you would be very surprised what movies he likes and thinks are great versus what he thinks are garbage. And that's okay. That's okay. 200 Watt Studio says, now you know why they call it Porkland. Wide loads. Damn. I want some pork chops right now. X Varna says, thoughts on people comparing Portland to Hong Kong? I mean, I'm not aware of the feds straight murdering journalists or anyone who says China number 4 or anything like that in Portland. I'm not aware of that. I think those comparisons are ill-founded. The comparisons, and not seeing them specifically, it's hard to comment on them, but if you're saying we need to be careful or what's happening in Portland could turn into a Hong Kong, that's one thing. If you're trying to evenly compare Hong Kong and Portland, then I think some Hong Kongians would have some kung fu grips to show you. Ulashed1 says, YouTube violates my human rights granted by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18, 19, and 30. Okay. Attica Ray, so will you please talk about the legality or not of the undercover cops detaining people from unmarked vans? Also, you're doing the Lord's work. I did talk about it in a video, a short video where we looked at some of it. I talked about it on a live stream. It's a complicated issue, and it got more complicated because the city of Portland sued the federal government talking about this, saying that the these cops were dragging people into unmarked vans and they weren't identified, and the city didn't produce any evidence that it was happening other than 2 affidavits from one guy. So they had the opportunity to show that this was a problem that was real. They had the opportunity to show that this was going on, and they didn't do it. And that should concern people about how narratives are formed in the age of mass media. Because again, I can't state this enough. I don't really like what the feds are doing in Portland. I mean, I might find it funny when a fat chick gets tackled. Sure. But I don't want the police to engage violently with anybody. I don't want protesters to engage violently with police. I don't want firebombs thrown at Fed courthouses. I don't want pepper spray and tear gas all over people. I don't want that. So I have to be very clear in that. However, just because I don't want it doesn't mean their activities aren't lawful. And so far, I haven't seen much to support actual unlawful activity by the police. There's some questionable activity by police. Unlawful? Where's the evidence? Where's the actual evidence? In the one place where it can be brought, where they have all of the resources, the person bringing the case was the city of Portland, with the full backing of the state of Oregon to go ahead and bring everything they've got. They've got amicus briefs on load from the ACLU and from other organizations. They've got lawyers all over the crowd who will submit further documents. And all they got were 2 affidavits from one guy. That's it? After all of this noise, they couldn't put together anything else. We need to start really examining then, are rights being violated? Or are people just upset at how they're treated? And you can be upset how you're treated and not have your rights legally taken. Those two things can coexist. And those guys are all about coexistence. Time of Dying 00 says they're still calling Comics Gate a hate group. Nick, perhaps you can make a video exploring the legal definition of what a hate group actually is. There isn't a legal definition of a hate group. It doesn't exist. It is not even a legal fiction. If you went into a court and said, this is legally a hate group, they would say there is no legal hate group. So the video would be short. Maybe I should do it. Like 1 minute. Hey, I'm here to tell you today about the legal implications of what even is an hate group. What is the legal definition of hate group? Are you ready? There isn't one. Peace. Peace. Click. There you go. Gelth Walker says, do a rant, you bish. We demand a rant. Man, I've been dropping spicy rants all week. I don't have a rant to give today other than what I've already said. So, Jeff the Gamer says, so we are paying you to yell at us as well? Yeah, I thought that was obvious. I now expect you to yell at me for some random reason next time we are in Congress or Live Chat Wednesday, especially since you have not yelled at me yet. You didn't interrupt my tire story. Me, you should earn it, Jeff. Irby earned it. All right, guys. Thank you for... Brian Moe. I'm actually not confused. That's the sad thing. It's it's very, very interesting perspective that you have, and I respect the heck out of your ability to have it. Keep carrying on, my friend, and I wish you well in your endeavors. I would strongly advise against actively resisting arrest or temporary detentions of police officers engaged in the lawful commission of their duties. If you do it, you are likely to get hit. It's movie time. I have something in my sideburns? Probably. Who knows? I was sleeping on the floor earlier. But let's... Please do that 10-second video. All right, guys, let's play the outro, and then I will see you over on Twitch in just a few minutes. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
He drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer till he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an odd bag of Balmore and Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost planning tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for...
I'm not hearing what you're hearing on the outro song.
Oh, the guests are all planet folks from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer
I turned it down.
is showcasing us his career.
If you guys have your own RTX voice on, and it's filtering your audio output, that will mess with it. I turned mine off, so it shouldn't be interfering with you. But if you have your own RTX voice, it will mess it up.
There's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now.
There's literally nothing I could possibly do to this song. I have no idea. Sorry. Anyway. I'll try and figure it out. I literally can't change the song. It's just an audio file. I haven't changed the audio file. It's in the same folder it's been in for the past year almost, or well, 8 months, or whenever I built this damn computer. Everything's the same. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. All right, guys. We'll see you over on Twitch. Peace.